Welcome to Protecting the Right to Decide and Support Decision Making in Florida. My name is Michael Lincoln McCrate. I'm a self-advocate for people with special needs in St. Lucie, Indian River, and Martin County. I'm a supported decision-making pioneer, and I'm also a security officer for Allied Universal Security Services.
Hi, everyone. I'm Viviana Bonilla Lopez. I'm an attorney at Disability Rights Florida, and I'm an Equal Justice Works Fellow sponsored by the Florida Bar Foundation. My day-to-day work is actually working with people with disabilities who want to use supportive decision-making instead of guardianship. So I'm really excited to talk to you guys today.
So, again, my name is Michael Lincoln McCrate. I was born in Indianapolis, Indiana, with my father. When I was about 16 or 17 years old, I was taken away from my father and put in foster care. Just because of legal reasons, he couldn't really take care of me, just for like some legal reasons. When I aged out of foster care, I was living on my own, wasn't fully quite ready to live on my own yet. So I requested to get services from APD, and I also into a group home in Fort Pierce for a couple of years. From then, I was actually petitioned by the court and had some doctors and attorneys come to the group home to, I guess, question me or interview me. And then I found out I was having my rights petitioned by the court to have them fully taken away and made me fully incapacitated. From then, I kind of felt like that wasn't right, so I tried to advocate for myself then and tell them that that wasn't the right move, that I was able to make my own decisions. But the judge felt like that I wasn't, so he signed the order to name me fully incapacitated by the state of Florida. Then I had my rights fully taken away, with all the rights taken from the right to vote, the right to get married, the right to choose my social life. Even when I needed to get picked up somewhere, I would have to be placed on the safe list, where I couldn't even go see my friends, couldn't even go see my family, without permission from the guardian. Then I contacted Disability Rights Florida and told and advocated for myself again that I would like to get my rights back. And we were, as a team, we were able to get together and draw out an action plan. And when they told me about supported decision making, yes, that sounds perfect. So we went to court and we ended up getting the first person in the state to actually get supported decision making.
Awesome. And Mike, before guardianship, you were actually pretty active in the community already, right?
Yes.
What are some of the things that you were already doing before they put you under guardianship?
I was actually, before they put me in guardianships, I was a sheriff explorer for St. Lucie County Sheriff's Office. I went shooting on the gun range. Yes, they put a gun in my hands. I don't know why they did that, but oh well. I went shooting on the gun range. We would do building searches. I would do handcuff techniques, felony traffic stops, pretty much anything and everything law enforcement does. Currently, just like currently now, I was the first sergeant for Treasure Coast Fort Pierce Guardian Angels. So I was with them, and I just liked helping out in the hospital, helping out at Lawnwood Regional Medical Center, just helping people until this very day.
So I think that that's really helpful because sometimes people tend to think, oh, well, anybody under guardianship must need to be there. But the reality is that, unfortunately, some people like you, even though if you kind of had looked at your life before guardianship, you were doing all of these things. You clearly had capacity. You were out in the community. You were helping people. You could say what you wanted and didn't want. So guardianship was really never right for you. but then there wasn't kind of an alternative. And so you ended up in this system that was very restrictive. And it's almost like your life was better before guardianship than after guardianship, even though it's meant to protect you. It's like your quality of life was actually worse. And so then obviously supported decision making changed everything for you. And now you're living your dream as a security guard. You live independently, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So thank you so much for sharing your story, Mike. I think Mike's story is like such a great example of why supported decision making is needed. And Mike is going to keep talking to us throughout about his experiences, and also because Mike is totally an expert in supported decision making. He can explain this better than anybody. So supported decision making is an alternative to guardianship. And first, I think before we go into that, and I'll let Mike explain what supported decision making is, I think we need to understand what is guardianship. So as Mike said, guardianship is a process where someone who the court doesn't think has capacity to make their own decisions, their rights are taken away and they're given to someone else to exercise on their behalf. And in this little picture here, you can see that we have a person under guardianship and there's an X in front of them because they don't have their rights. Then there's a green check mark in front of the guardian because those rights have been passed on to the guardian. So it's a pretty severe thing to do because the person under guardianship who's legally called the ward almost stops existing, right? Someone else takes my place. If I can't say what I want, if I can't do things on my own, if no one can even really ask me questions because I don't have my own rights, it's almost like I don't exist and someone else has taken my place. So it's a pretty big deal, and we only want to do this if it's absolutely necessary. And what are the rights that can be lost under guardianship? The right to get married, the right to vote, the right to personally apply for government benefits, the right to have a driver's license, to travel, to work, to contract, to sue and defend lawsuits, to decide where to live, to manage property, to decide who your friends are and who you spend your time with. So these are all pretty big rights. And actually, I'll go back to that slide because think of how all of these rights impact your daily life if you didn't have these. It's pretty severe. So what is guardian advocacy? We hear about this a lot. Guardian advocacy is often presented as a less restrictive alternative to guardianship, but in reality, it's the same thing. The difference, there's an important legal distinction. With guardianship, the court has doctors evaluate the person and says, okay, this person doesn't have capacity. We need to take their rights, whatever rights they don't have capacity for, doesn't have to be all of them, give them to someone else. With guardian advocate, the analysis is, does this person have a developmental disability that makes it so they can't make their own decisions? If the answer is yes, whatever rights they can't decide, we give them to the guardian advocate. So it's the same process, but it's just, or it's the same result, I should say, but the process is different. So the result will be the same. I lose my rights, someone else exercises them for me, but the process is a little bit different. And you can see a comparison here. So there are two different statutes. There's the guardianship statute and the guardian advocate statute. Guardianship is for all disabilities, so people with any kind of disability that makes them incapable of making their own decisions. With guardian advocate, it has to be a developmental disability. And with guardian advocate, the benefit and part of why this law was passed is that parents can do it without an attorney. If you want to put someone under guardianship, you need an attorney. For guardian advocate, you don't. So another big difference is that under guardianship, a person can lose all of their rights. We call that a plenary guardianship. But under guardian advocate, the person has to keep at least one right. And oftentimes I've seen that all the rights will be taken away and the person will just be left with the right to vote. So in practice, that person is basically under guardianship, right? Because that one right, while the right to vote is extremely important, and we love advocating at Disability Rights Florida for people with disabilities to have that very important right, it doesn't really give you control over your life. So we want that right, we want the rest of them too, if the person can exercise them. And as I said before, under guardianship, the person is found incapacitated. For guardian advocate, they're not. The determination is, do they have a developmental disability that makes them not be able to make their own decisions? And under both, the person with a disability has a right to counsel. So that's very important. You always have a right to an attorney to defend you if someone wants to put you under guardianship. And again, just to go back, these are all of the rights that a person could lose, both under guardianship and under guardian advocacy. So we're going to go into some frequently asked questions. These are questions that I get all the time from parents, from attorneys, from people with disabilities. So the first one, I'm about to turn 18. I'm excited to be an adult, but what if I still need some help? Does that mean I need a guardian? So there is this thing that is called sometimes in the disability space, the school to guardianship pipeline. And that is a system where in school, as soon as a person with a disability is about to turn 18, the schools start telling the parents, hey, have you gotten guardianship yet? You might need guardianship. And there's a misunderstanding exactly of what guardianship is, and then also a misunderstanding of other alternatives. So the answer to this is no. Once you turn 18, there are many ways outside of a guardianship for your loved ones to stay involved. And obviously, you can probably guess that supported decision-making is our favorite, and Mike's going to tell you about that in a second. But there are a couple of different ways that can also be incorporated into supported decision-making. So the first is a power of attorney. A power of attorney is a legal document where I, called the principal, sign a document saying all of the things that I want someone else to be able to do for me. So with guardianship, I lose my rights, they're given to someone else. With power of attorney, I kind of copy paste my rights. So I have my rights, but I can share them with someone else. And that's why you see in the picture here that we have kind of the dotted line because we're sharing the rights, we're not losing them. And then both the principal and the agent have a check mark. So I, as a person with a disability, and actually anybody can do this, not just someone with a disability. Older adults do this, anybody who might need some help. So I can say, for example, I want my mom to be authorized on my bank account and to write checks for me. I write a power of attorney and I share that right, that ability to write checks with my mom, but I keep it too. And if I change my mind, I can destroy the power of attorney and it's all good. So a healthcare surrogate is someone who makes healthcare decisions for me. I had a client once who his healthcare making decisions wasn't that important to him, and he really trusted his parents. So as part of our supported decision-making that we did with him, he signed a healthcare surrogate designation saying, my mom's going to make my healthcare decisions, but he was definitely going to make his decisions regarding his work, his music. So it's all about tailoring it to the person. Advance directives are legal documents where you can write what you want to happen to you if you're not able to make healthcare decisions. So for example, a psychiatric advance directive would allow someone with a mental illness to say, if I'm ever in the hospital and I'm having psychosis and I'm not able to say what I want, these are the medications that work for me. These are the medications that make me feel bad. These are the treatments that I definitely don't want. These are the ones that will work. Information releases, these are just documents where I give someone else the right to access my information. So for example, you can sign a FERPA release saying that my college can share my grades with my parents, or I might sign a HIPAA release saying that my doctor can talk to my mom. The last is representative payee. A representative payee is someone who receives your Social Security benefits. They get the money from Social Security, and then they make sure that it's used for everything that you need. So it's someone who kind of manages your funds that you receive from Social Security for you. And the last is supported decision-making. And again, supported decision-making can incorporate all these things. So Mike, what is supported decision-making?
So supported decision-making is basically your own team. I call it basically, in police terms, I call it a chain of command. So a chain of command is where you're at the tippity top of the chain. But you'll go down the chain of command to each supporter and tell them what you're thinking about doing, and then they tell you if it's the right decision or the wrong decision. Or if you feel like it's the right decision and you're confident, you can make it a decision on your own, and you can decide that you want to do it if it's a really good decision.
I like that analogy. Supported decision making, like the official definition that I hear a lot and that I use with my clients, is that it is a system that allows people with disabilities to make their own decisions with the help of people that they trust. And Mike likes to think of his supported decision making team as the chain of command. So he's the boss, and then he consults these people and they help him think through things, pros and cons of decisions, but then he makes the ultimate decision. He's the boss. And that's really important. With supported decision making, the person with the disability is the decision maker. And that means that they can make decisions that other people disagree with. That is okay. That's part of the process. So this diagram that I have here kind of shows the difference between this and a power of attorney, and this and guardianship and guardian advocacy. As you can see, the decision maker, the person with the disability, has that green check mark, means they kept their rights. Nobody has taken them from them. And they can share their rights with someone who's their supporter. This would mean, for example, if I had a power of attorney and I'm saying my mom can write checks for me, she can help me with my banking. If I make her my healthcare surrogate, I'm sharing my rights with her. I can change my mind and take them back, but I'm sharing them with her, and I can do that through different legal tools like the healthcare surrogate and like the power of attorney, right? Then the person to the other side, who is this blonde woman, maybe she's my supporter, but I'm not going to share my rights with her. I'm just going to share my information. So maybe this is my aunt, and I want my aunt to be able to talk to my doctor. So I signed a HIPAA release, but I don't want her to make my healthcare decisions. My mom's doing that. So I can share either information or rights, and I can do that through these legal documents that we've discussed here to give people the legal power and the legal authority to either act on my behalf or help me act on my own behalf. It will depend on what the person wants. But basically, if we have all of these things, I'm able to get the support that I need. I'm able to do the things that are difficult to do on my own, and I don't need guardianship. So that's the question that we have to be asking ourselves. Would this be enough for someone? And if the answer is yes, then we don't need to pursue a guardianship. So Mike, how about you tell us about how you use supported decision making?
Terrific. So how I use supported decision making is I use it as a chain of command. So in this section for home, and that's a picture of my new apartment on my own. It's like half of it, but it's a picture of my new apartment. I had to go down a chain of command because I wanted to go out and live on my own. So I was like, okay, where do I want to go to live? Do I want to go live in a house, an apartment, or share a house with somebody? Well, me, I was very passionate on living on my own. So I contacted my uncle, and I contacted Colleen, which is one of my supports, and I even contacted my representative payee, which is Danny. And basically, we went out and we looked at a lot of places. And I tell you one thing, I never thought living on your own and finding an apartment would be so hard. But I was out, and this place hit me at home because it was right dip dab in the middle of at the end of St. Lucie West. So everything was right there where I needed: Publix, Walmart, Winn-Dixie, McDonald's, Wendy's, Five Guys, Superplay, movies. Everything that I go to on a regular basis is right there. And the money, we had to focus on the money. And they said that the rent was $1,000, and it was all included: electricity, water, cable, internet. I'm like, yes, let's do it. This is everywhere, in the middle of everything. I want it. So we got a team together, had a meeting. We decided, yes, we're doing it. We signed the contract. We read over the lease. We signed the contract. And we put down the first glass of security, and before we know it, I have my own apartment, and it is absolutely amazing. I feel like I'm in luxury heaven because pools I can go swimming in anytime I want. I'm mostly always in the pool, so I'm like a fish. But so that's the home situation. Next, travel. I love to travel. Travel is my favorite. So around Christmas time, I want to go on vacation because I deserve it. I worked my butt off. Um, like today, I'm going all the way to Vero today, so I worked my butt off, and I'm like, I want to travel. I want to go do something and reward myself. So I bought tickets to Universal Orlando Resort. And this is a theme park that me and my dad used to go to all the time. Actually, I used to skip school when I was little and go straight to Universal Studios, and he'll be like, Mike, where are you? I'm at the theme park. And I got in trouble. Anyway, but so we went to Universal Studios, and of course, I went through the chain of command, and everyone thought, okay, yeah, you deserve a vacation. Go for it. So I booked the hotel. I booked the Greyhound ticket. I booked the Universal Orlando Resort tickets, and I tell you, it was so much fun. I got to meet Spider-Man, which is my favorite superhero, Spider-Man. Um, and you know, it's just amazing. Education, that's the big step. Um, and that's how my security came into play. Um, when I was a young adult, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I didn't know if I wanted to go um to college. I didn't know if I wanted to get my GED. I didn't know what I wanted to do. So I talked to Colleen and I talked to a couple of people and I heard about this program called Project Stage, which is it's like a inclusive program at Indian River State College. And basically what ended up happening is one day I saw a deputy coming into the classroom because my teacher's nephew, I guess, is a deputy for Indian River County Sheriff's Office, and I was like so interested because we were talking about human trafficking, and I was like, I want to be a police officer, and I said that in the middle of the class, and my teacher pulled me aside, and he's like, Michael, I appreciate your enthusiasm, but why don't you become a security officer? I'm like, is that just like a police officer? He's like, yeah. So I'm like, okay. So she scheduled me for classes, and I was just so interested because we went through terrorism, we went through special operations, we went through like a whole bunch of sections, and I took the state exam, and I was like very nervous. Me with tests doesn't matter. I get freaked out when I take a test. But I passed the state exam the highest in class. I got like a 98. Everyone else, I guess, got an 80 or 89. So, and I was like so happy. I was like, yes, I passed the state exam. So then the application was pretty lengthy. I had to go to the U.S. Department of Agriculture out in West Palm Beach. And then I started looking for a job. I'm like, I'm ready to dive into work. I'm ready to protect and serve my community. So I applied for Allied Universal Security Services, and I'm happy. I've been with them for almost a couple of months now, since January of this year, and I absolutely love my job.
Yay! Well, Mike, that is awesome, and it really gives people a sense of how you work with your supporters to do all of these things that previously you didn't even have the right to do at all, and you've been doing them so well and so successfully. So here is a sample supported decision-making agreement. And I think it's really important with supported decision-making to remember that it's going to be different for every single person because it's really a process that has to be tailored to each individual. So the supported decision-making agreements that I've done with my clients look really different from this. Sometimes they're more detailed and my clients want to write out the areas of their life where they don't want any help at all and they're just going to make their own decisions. Like, for example, one of my clients was like, I'm going to pick my own clothes. I'm going to pick what I eat. And these are things that were important to them, so we wrote them out as things that they made decisions completely on their own. So it will really depend on what the person wants. But this is kind of a basic example where you see that in a supported decision-making agreement, you want to say, who are my supporters? Who are the people who are going to help me make decisions? How are we going to work together? Are we going to use a chain of command type process like Mike's? Are we going to do a committee where we vote on decisions and I can see kind of what the majority of votes is for my supporters, and that can help me think, okay, well, maybe this is a good decision because most of them agree with me. I don't know. Whatever the person wants to come up with is okay. The important thing is that the person with the disability is in charge and they get to decide. They may want to decide to meet with their supporters every week as a committee, or they may want to say ad hoc, whenever I need something, I'll just call up the right people, which seems to be what Mike does. So you want to say who your supporters are, how they're going to support you, and also what areas they're going to support you with. So what are the things that I need help with, and what kind of help do I need in each of these areas? And you can be as detailed as you want, or you can be a little bit more general. It will really depend. So Mike, I know that your supported decision-making is a little different from this. It's more detailed. It incorporates a power of attorney. It includes information about the representative payee. But what do you think? Anything to say about supported decision-making agreements?
No, you just hit it right on the top. Mine was like a freaking, it had so many words. I'm like, what are all these words? But no, you hit it right on the top. Like, it is, my supported decision-making is like twice as bigger than this. But the most important thing is, and I kind of messed up when I did this because I didn't know I was not supposed to. Don't sign it until you're in front of a notary.
Oh, well, so actually that's a really good point, Mike. And this will depend. So with Florida, and this is actually a really good place to kind of pivot to this. In Florida, we don't have a supported decision-making law. So some states, there's actually 9 states in the United States, including Alaska, Texas, which was the first one, Washington, D.C. has one, who have supported decision-making laws. And these laws usually set out a standard supported decision-making form, which you can, in a lot of the states, you can use that form or something pretty similar to it. And it recognizes the form so that you can take it to your doctor and your doctor has to accept it. You can take it to the bank and the bank has to accept it. Here in Florida, we don't have a law yet, although Mike and I are working on that. We're co-chairing a coalition that's trying to educate legislators on how important a law could be. So here in Florida, until we have that law, what we're doing is that supported decision-making agreement is really a document for you and your supporters to know how you're going to work together. And then if you need a document for your doctor or for your bank or for someone else, we'll call them a third party, then we'll use one of the documents that's already legally available in Florida. So a power of attorney, a healthcare surrogate designation, an information release. And that's how I've been working on it with my clients. Once we get the law passed, then you might be able to just use your supported decision-making agreement as a legal document that people have to accept. And again, the agreement is really for you and your family to know, or your friends, whoever your supporters are going to be, how you're going to work together. And you might want to show that to people who you work with, who you really trust. For example, maybe you've had a doctor for 10 years and you really trust them and you want to say, hey, I'm using supported decision-making now. Do you want to take a look at my supported decision-making agreement? It will help you understand who's helping me with my healthcare decisions and how they're going to help me so you can work with us as well. So it will really be up to you. But in terms of legal documents that you need to get notarized, that will be these other legal documents that are currently recognized in Florida. So on to some more questions. Don't guardianships provide you with control over what happens to your loved one? I love my daughter. I know her best and I want to protect her. This is a question that I get a lot from parents. They're thinking, okay, well, I'm the parent. I've been the parent until age 18. And after age 18, won't guardianship just kind of make me the parent for longer? The answer is no. With guardianships, the court has ultimate control over your loved one. So the court is the one, when it decides this person doesn't have capacity, the court is now in charge. And the court designates a guardian to kind of do the work for them. But the court can change its mind and say, I don't like how you're doing this job, guardian. I'm going to appoint a different guardian. If you're a guardian, every year you have to submit a report to the court saying what you have been doing, how the person is doing, that they've been to the doctor. And you also have to say if you're helping them to regain their capacity. And this is really good. We want the courts to look over guardians and to make sure that they're not taking advantage of the person, right? That is very important. But if the person doesn't actually need guardianship, it can become kind of an onerous thing, and it can get expensive because you need to pay your attorney to submit the annual report. I don't want to scare parents. For the most part, if you request to be the guardian of your child, the court is probably going to appoint you, but it will depend. You can consult an attorney if you have concerns that you might have any previous legal issues that could prevent you from doing that. But it's something that can happen, and it's important to understand that. Even if I'm the guardian, really the control is ultimately with the courts. And then the last one is that the court needs to approve moving your loved one. So if the person has lost the right to travel, that's one of the rights that have been removed, you need to ask the court for permission before you can move the person out of the county. So for example, Mike wanted to go to Orlando on vacation. He would have had to petition the court, have his guardian petition the court to ask for permission for him to go to Orlando, even though it's just a bus ride away. So the third question, I want my son to be independent, but he's not ready now. Can I get a guardianship and then reverse it when my son is ready? So the answer here is that it's really hard to get out of a guardianship. So we want to start with less restrictive alternatives first. To get out of a guardianship, there is a process. It's definitely possible. Mike did it, and it's actually something that I work on with my clients. So it's definitely something that you can do, but it's really hard because you have to submit what's called either a suggestion of capacity, if it's guardianship, or a suggestion of restoration of rights, if it's guardian advocacy, and tell the court why this person now has the ability to exercise their rights. It can get expensive, it can get complicated, and we just don't want to have to go through that if we don't have to. So this is a good example of moving from less restrictive at the top to most restrictive. So more rights at the top and less rights at the bottom. So I want to start with supported decision-making. Will this work for this person? What are the things that we can use? Can we use a healthcare designation? Can we use a power of attorney? And we move down that way. Okay, that didn't work. Maybe they weren't ready to handle their finances on their own. Okay, so what about a representative payee with supported decision-making? That didn't work. And then when nothing works, then we're going to try guardianship and guardian advocacy. Unfortunately, the way that it works now is that most parents and people with disabilities, right as soon as they're going to turn 18, guardianship, right? We're not starting with the less restrictive and moving toward guardianship. And that's what we want to do. And then if guardianship is the only alternative, that's okay, but we tried other things first. So, Mike, tell us why supported decision-making is so important.
So, supported decision-making is important. This is my favorite part. Supported decision-making is important because it's like your family. This one and the big one in the middle, this was at my last 24th birthday party. And it was a very special day because, as you can see, you know who's there. Law enforcement. How supported decision-making work in this. I wanted to throw me a birthday party, right? So I had to get funding, so I had to go through my representative payee, and I had to ask for some advice that, hey, do you think a birthday party would be necessary for a 24-year-old? And they're like, yeah, go for it. So I ran into one of my buddies at the Port St. Lucie Police Department, and they reached out to St. Lucie County Sheriff's Office, and they said, we may have a surprise for you on your birthday. So one day, on my birthday, we arrived at the park. I hired a DJ. We had the DJ there. And all of a sudden, I hear, woo! I'm like, uh-oh, what did I do? Here comes 18 patrol cars with a fire truck and an ambulance, surprising me with Happy Birthday, Michael on the side of the ambulance. And that was just the most amazing thing. I also do special events in the community with the deputy chief of St. Louis County Sheriff's Office. I'm a very big fan of law enforcement, but it also shows you're building relationships with your county officials and your elected officials. And we also have friendships where me and my friend Joey, we like to go to the beach. We're beach goers. Like, we'll go tubing, and last time they buried me in the sand, don't ask. I was a mermaid for a day.
Oh, that's awesome.
But, you know, it shows your relationships with your social life, and it shows that you can do anything if you put your mind to it.
Mike, we also have here a day of rights. So these are all the rights that you use in a day. And I think this is also really important because supported decision-making strengthens a person's ties to the community. It allows them to be more independent, to have relationships, all of the things that you see Mike doing. But then also, if you really think about it, how many rights you use in one day, it helps you understand how important it is to keep those if you can. So Mike, walk us through a quick review of all these rights that you use in one day.
So I use the right to determine your residence, and I explained that, and that's actually a picture of my neighborhood. But you also have the right to travel. Like me, I travel to go to work. I have to travel all the way to Vero. So I take Uber, or I take a bicycle, or I even take the bus. To make decisions about your social life. Friendships. You see, that's a group of my friends at Super Play. We always like to go bowling, and my friend Amanda and Kristen likes to tag team against me on bowling because they know I'm so good at bowling, and then they want to beat me. And I always tell them that's against the Michael law, but oh well. And then the right to seek and retain employment. When I got my job as a security officer, it was really difficult to try to find a job as a security officer because some agencies won't even hire you unless you have prior law enforcement or military experience. But they hired me because I had my Class B security license, and I told them that I was part of the St. Louis County Sheriff's Office Explorer Post, and I actually have experience with private security with the Guardian Angels.
Awesome. So just looking at this, right, this is a huge part of Mike's life, and he previously didn't have these 4 rights. So if you really kind of think about it again in your day-to-day, think about all the rights that you use in one day and how hard it would be to be who you are without those rights. So Mike's accomplishments. We were not able to show you the video as part of these presentation because of some technology issues, but this is really special. So when Mike was at Indian River State College, he organized a special screening of a movie called Intelligent Lives as part of Disability Rights Week. Is that right, Mike?
Yep.
And he was in the news. So if you want to go see a video of Mike in the news, which you should because it's awesome, go to this URL at the bottom, tiny.cc/Mike on TV. Did you like that shout out, Mike?
Yes, I loved it. And I'm actually going to add on this. When I did my speech at the college president, we presented an award to the college president. And he said that my speech was the best speech that he has ever heard ever since he was
awesome.
the college president at IRSC.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
There you go. I love bragging about Mike, and Mike always lets me do that. So how can Disability Rights Florida help? So I work at Disability Rights Florida. We are the protection and advocacy agency for the state of Florida. What that means is that we get money from the federal government to help people with disabilities. We offer a lot of different services. The first one is supported decision-making agreements and other documents. So I can help you if you live in Miami-Dade County, which is where we have a pilot program right now. If you live in Miami-Dade County and you want to use supported decision-making, call us and I can help you draft the agreement and any other documents like a power of attorney or healthcare surrogate designation that you might need. Even without an SDM law in Florida, we can and are using supported decision-making now in the ways that I explained above. So We're doing a pilot program in Miami-Dade County. It's for 2 years. And when that is done and we kind of get a sense of how this will go, we might expand to other counties. But feel free to call us anyway if you have questions about supported decision-making, and we'll send you information because we're trying to spread the word across all of Florida, even though our services are limited to Miami-Dade County right now. So I can help you terminate a guardianship in favor of supported decision-making. Again, this is for Miami-Dade County. And then I can also do consultations about supported decision-making, guardianship, and determining what works with your family. I'm happy to talk to people from other counties about supported decision-making agreements and giving you ideas, even if we can't take your case or full representation. All our services are free and confidential. There is no income requirement. The only requirement is that you have a disability, and I can be your attorney. So some of the other work that we also do at Disability Rights Florida, keep us in mind for any need that you have, is we help with IEPs, discrimination at work, at home, or in school, accessing assistive technology, and so much more. Really anything that you think about that is a hardship that you're going through because of your disability, we can probably help. And if we can't take your case, we'll give you the resources. So we're really the place that you want to call if you need any help at all and you have a disability. And this is for the entire state of Florida. So even though our supported decision-making legal services are limited to Miami-Dade County, we will talk to anybody from across the state, and our legal services for everything else are all across Florida. So no matter where you live, you need help with anything, you can call us. And Mike, you'll vouch for our services, right? Disability Rights Florida is great.
Yes. Oh, you wanted to?
Oh, no, it's okay. I just put our contact information up there, but were you going to say something? Go ahead, Mike.
Oh, no, I was going to say, if you need any information, you can contact me. My email's right there, or you can, just email me. And then you can also contact Viviana. Her contact info is right there. And you can also do Disability Rights Florida.
So that's the intake line and also our online intake. And that is for anything that's not related to supported decision-making. You want to call that main line and they will help you. So for anything for supported decision-making, contact me directly. But thank you guys so much for joining our webinar. We're really excited to have been able to give you this information. We hope to see you guys at Family Cafe maybe next year. Our last slide here. So this is a survey that helps Disability Rights Florida determine what our priorities are going to be for the year 2021. And if you want to participate, follow that link there and please let us know what you think. So Mike, I think it's time for us to say goodbye, but thank you guys so much. Again, here's our contact information and we are super excited to work with you guys.
Bye.
Bye.